Hello and welcome to another modern video. Today we're going to be trying out a deck that I played on stream maybe like 6 months ago or something. It was a while ago while Lures was still a legal card, so you can probably imagine. And this is a Gretchen Willow combo. So the way that this deck works is we're trying to put together Gretchen, which is this card from probably the worst set we had in the past couple of years, maybe more than that. It's 2 mana for 0/4, you pay 2 green blue, and you draw a card and put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So note obviously that this doesn't count towards your land, so you get to make extra land drops. So the way that this works is if you have access to Amulet and or a second copy of Amulet or a Biomancer's Familiar, which is 2 mana 2/2 that activate abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. So that makes it a Gretchen cost only blue and green. So when we combine that with Simic Growth Chamber, you can basically go infinite. Like you can just draw your entire deck, and then you can eventually find an Arboreal Grazer and another Amulet. So what that does is you can start netting mana at that point. And once you start netting mana, you eventually come to a point where you can just cast a big finale that's going to be lethal and kill your opponent on a single shot. So that is the main combo that we're trying to put together. And similar to what the Tameshi Bloom combo deck has been doing, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to have a significant amount of redundant pieces. So we have access to Lumber Skull, we have access to Finale of Devastation, and we also have access to interaction in the form of Prismatic Ending and ways to protect our combo with the Fairy Time Raveler. Not only that, but what the Tameshi Bloom combo deck, even though it's very, very good at enabling its own game plan, like enabling its combo, it kind of struggles when trying to, when it's forced into playing a little bit more of a fair game, because your cards are not particularly good, right? Like we have seen in the newer versions of that deck that they're trying stuff like Comnath and whatnot. But that's like one card in your deck. The difference here is that we have some real bangers when it comes to trying to play a little bit of a more fair game plan. And we have cards like Titania, Protector of Argoth, one of my favorite cards ever. We also have access to Reclaimer. And the reason that we have Reclaimer is we can either, ramp with Flagstones, we can go find our Growth Chamber, which is one of our combo pieces, and we also have access to Urza Saga. So we can play a fair game plan with Urza Saga and start making constructs and whatnot, and then eventually we find our Amulet, which is the combo piece that we want to be finding anyway. So as you can see, the deck, even though it actually takes up multiple pieces, right? Like we need the Gretchen, we need multiple Amulets, we need either this or we have different ways of actually putting all that stuff together. So it's not that much of a race to try to put the combo together. It's one of those decks that it's slowly playing their cards and accruing value, and eventually out of nowhere you just set up your combo and you win. So that is kind of what we're trying to do here. We'll see how things work out. But so rounding out the deck, we have the One of Expedition map. Again, with Simic Growth Chamber being one of our needed combo pieces, it's important to have access to multiple ways of getting it. We also have the one of Suron Orb, which works really, really well with Titania, and we can fetch the Suron Orb with our Saga as well. So if we are trying to play fair, then this goes way over the top of most things that you can do in the format. So that's pretty cool as well. And then, of course, we have access to a couple of copies of Boseiju Who Endures, who actually helps out a lot against some problematic cards for this deck, namely stuff like Blood Moon and whatnot. So, fairly straightforward main deck, and the big pickup that this deck had is Spara's Headquarters. Having access to a card like this that really fixes your mana straight up. Like all of a sudden, all of your cards work out. It's very, very good, because in the past you would struggle because, you kind of want to set up the Teferi in the early turns, and, if you have access to a basic forest, that doesn't really help towards casting your Teferi. If you have your basic planes that cast your Prismatic Ending, but doesn't really catch your Gretchen and whatnot. So you ended up in situations where you had some very, very awkward mana situations, and Spara's Headquarters kind of fixes that straight up, which is very, very nice. So we can, of course, fetch this off of Flagstones, which is very nice, and we're gonna see how much how important this is to actually help this deck's functioning. In the sideboard, we finished the playset of Prismatic Ending in matchups where our opponents are going to be bringing in stuff like Magus of the Moon and whatnot. This card is going to be quite important. Path to Exile, mostly against Murktide. Burr-entered Forge Tender, it's a very important piece of the puzzle against decks like Burn or Fury decks. So Forge Tender is kind of really, really good. Also Ragavan as well. Mystical Dispute and Flusterstorm are against the combo decks of the format, the Cascade decks of the format, and also the Murktides of the format. Thassa's Oracle, it's an interesting card to have in the sideboard. So what Oracle does is it allows you to combo when you don't have access to, like, once you're going infinite, you don't even need the attack step in order to win. So against decks that are playing stuff like Ensnare and Bridge, or against decks that gain infinite life, you can bring in your Thassa's Oracle and you don't really care about what they're trying to do. Like if we get paired against, like, for whatever reason, somebody's playing Heliod combo or whatnot, we can actually bring in a Thassa's Oracle and, you know, we can let our opponent combo out, like, don't even care about it. And we can just eventually, while we're comboing out, we find our Oracle and we cast it and we win on the spot. Force of Vigor and Endurance are just fantastic sideboard cards that I want in every single one of my green decks, so that's why they're here. Teferi Time Raveler, 4th copy against Cascade decks, Control decks, etc. Lavinia, very, very interesting card to have access to in the sideboard, and a very useful one in basically every single Ilaramir Skull deck. You can tutor for Lavinia against Cascade decks, and it's going to make things a lot easier because it's going to force your opponent to interact with your Lavinia while you put together your combo, which is very nice. Night of Autumn, as a card that we can find against Burn and artifact/enchantment strategies as well. And finally, a singleton copy of Bojuki Bog that we can find with Reclaimer instant speed. This helps a lot, of course, in all of our graveyard matchups. And we are, after all, playing 4 copies of Growth Chamber, so we can get a repeated value from having access to the single Bojuki Bog. We're going to be trying this deck out through a Modern League on Magic Online. So if you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit that like and follow button. And I'll see you for round number 1. Alright, let's see what we got here. Not a great hand against the Yorion deck. I'm going to ship that. Better. So what are we going to do here? We're going to definitely keep this. The question is, this finds me the familiar to go with my Gretchen, but I still don't have the amulet. Here I have the amulet, however. So I think we got the Growth Chamber too. So as if we have the combo right now. So I think I'm gonna send the Teferi. I have to send the land though. Like Teferi is just one of the ways. It's not very likely that the combo is gonna stick against the Yorion deck. Because of that, I probably want to have that ready as my B plan. Now the question is, do I go turn 1 Saga? Because I'm kind of incentivized to. I'm just gonna go turn 1 Growth Chamber. Turn 1 Keith, sorry. Really hoping to find, I think I have to find a land here. I could go turn 2 Saga, kind of see where that takes me. Turn 2 Run 6 is certainly strong. I think I'm gonna F6 here. I know that I can get the Bant Triumph, but alright. So here's my Saga. Still don't know what I'm gonna do, if I want to play out this Growth Chamber or not. I could get the Fairy minus on the Saga, which would be pretty brutal. That's exactly what happens. Yeah, it's a little bit of beating. Okay. Well, here goes this again. Can't cast Call. Yeah, and this is why we have so many lands, right? Like this deck is playing 27 lands as is. And the thing is that your Growth Chambers are effectively combo pieces, but they're not particularly useful as normal lands, right? So, I mean, they're... Oof, that's probably game, right? Can I win now? Why would you not? Oh, because they're going to discard anyway, okay. I would just dead here. Like, I'm considering the possibility of just conceding right now to hide information, because as is, we look like we're playing Amulet. So I think I'm going to concede to hide information, because if I play out the Gretchen, my opponent's going to know that I'm up to something, so... I think I'd much rather bring in my disputes. I think I probably want the other Teferi, and I definitely want the Forge Tender. Don't love the Gracers. I don't think I want Bojuki Bog. Can maybe cut a Prismatic Ending and probably cut a Finale. I could cut a Gretchen, since I'm not super likely to put the combo together. So it's because it's between cutting Finale or cutting like Cole or cutting Gretchen. But these cards actually allow me to play my Titania game plan. So I think that cutting the Gretchen is better. Alright, game number 2. Double Saga is interesting. I think I'm gonna ship this hand though. I really like this hand, however. So this hand's great. So we're gonna keep this. We're only missing a Gretchen and we can win, which is pretty nice. So turn 1, let's get probably Breeding Pool Reclaimer. My opponent's gonna need to find an answer to this Reclaimer. Otherwise, we can next turn into a 3-4, or we can simply just get Flagstones going. I think I'm gonna go for the Flagstones route, because the other alternative would be to go Windswept Heath, fetch, and then my Reclaimer is gonna be a 3-4, so it's gonna survive Lightning Bolt. So this probably means my opponent has an answer here. Prismatic Ending. Alright. That's what happens. Play my Amulet, play my fetch land, say go. Yep. Never not have the Renin 6. Trying to think if... Should I have played this thing? I don't think so. I don't think I should have played the Familiar. So let's go... And I think I want to get my card. I effectively get my card and I get the a minus on the Renin 6. I could also plus, but then I get got by Prismatic Ending. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna plus. This may work out really poorly for me. But I think my plan is gonna be to... I kind of want a Finale for Reclaimer my opponent's next end step. Dare to Fairy. Well, we're not going to be able to do end step, so... It's an interesting pickup. So we can't do the plus thing anymore, so I'm just going to minus here, get my card. Dispute doesn't do anything. So I'm just going to... I think we Finale for Reclaimer. We could also Gretchen plus Amulet. I think I like Finale for Reclaimer better. Because if we do this, I get to kind of go off next turn. So now I'm forcing my opponent to interact at sorcerer speed with the Reclaimer. But next turn we can go play Amulet, activate, get Bounce Land, play Gretchen, Bounce Land, play Familiar, or probably save the Familiar for next turn. Maybe that's better. What is this? Omnath? No Omnath. Whatever they do, they have to do at sorcery speed, which is nice for me. Another Teferi. It's kind of fine. This is a little bit threatening, but not super threatening. So now we're gonna go Reclaimer into Amulet. Really wish I had found a land drop there. I think if I had found a land drop there, we would be in really good shape. The good thing is if my opponent doesn't kill this Reclaimer, I can go. If I find an Amulet, I just win. I think. Yeah, I just win. They got Fury. Ugh, gross. Yep. Yeah, this matchup seems really bad. This matchup seems super bad for us. Yeah, it's a little bit too late. By a little bit, I of course mean it's extremely late. That should have happened like 3 turns ago or something. Yeah, this is not looking good here. This is not looking good at all. Yeah, they got double Planeswalker going. Omnath is killing me. Fury is also killing me. This is 10 damage. Like, I'm obviously gonna take it because I'm super stuck on mana. I guess if for whatever reason they don't answer Gretchen, like if their hand is just 7 blanks, unlikely, but bear with me here. If their hand is 7 blanks, well, now it doesn't work. I mean, I guess if I find Simic Growth Chamber, I can go Gretchen, Familiar. Yeah, no, okay, so now we're dead. Now we're dead. Yeah, they have so much good interaction. Like, it's just impossible for me to play a fair game against them, and it's impossible for me to play a combo game against them as well. I guess I would need to draw Titania every single time in order to win this matchup. Yeah. With lands, obviously. Okay, not a great first showcase of the deck, but I do assume that this matchup is just close to unwinnable. Alright, see you next round. Okay, so what are we doing here? Just a bunch of nothing? Ship it. This is better. This is much better. Now the question is, what do I send back? I think I'm gonna send back a land. I could send back Expedition Map, but Map can find me a Saga. in case my Reclaimer dies, which is very likely. Okay, so playing against Colin Tarn. Street Wraith. Some form of Shadow? I imagine it's some form of Shadow. Could be Leaving End. Asmo? Alright. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna go basic Forest, Reclaimer, go. Next turn I can go Amulet. Probably I'm gonna go Amulet into Prismatic Ending. We're gonna have to kill this Asmo, right? Inquiry. Well, that's something. That escalated quickly. Ooh, all right. I have to assume that's an above average turn 2, right? I have to assume that's an above average turn 2. Flagstones. Does that do anything for me? I don't think so. I can turn Reclaimer into a 3/4, but it doesn't really do anything. Like it just gets killed by the Asmo. So I'm just gonna concede here. That was a very good turn 2. Very good turn 2. Okay, I think I want Endurance. I think I want Forge Tender. Want Bojugibog for sure. Probably over Boseiju. Gracer seems fine. Probably don't want the Fairies. They seem kind of mopey. Ending seems like cheaper interaction. And maybe Night of Autumn is a little bit interesting. As is, I already have to cut a card. Expedition Map. Gretchen seems like it lines up nicely. They have a bunch of 3Xs. So just an 0/4 body kind of works against them. Titania is a way to go over the top. So I definitely want the Suran Orbs. I probably have to expect Blood Moon. Or Magus. Probably Magus. Maybe Magus is a reason for Path. Probably not a good enough reason. I think I'm just gonna cut a Gretchen. Yeah. Alright, Sand's pretty strong. So we're gonna keep this. And we can go turn 1 Amulet, turn 2 Gretchen. Take it from there. Alright, put Amulet to 6. Play my Amulet, so you go. I kind of want to get Burning Inquiry here. Oh no, Cookbook. That's better. I think I'm gonna go basic Forest here into Gretchen. Forest also allows me to... Like, they probably don't have an answer to this Gretchen. And Forest allows me to play around Magus a little bit. The reason for playing Reclaimer is that it allows me to have Bojugibog up, right? Which is not nothing. It's certainly not nothing. But now because I played Gretchen, next turn I can go Growth Chamber, bounce Forest, activate Gretchen, play basic Forest, and we can Reclaimer as well, which is pretty nice. Pretty solid sequence there. That's of course assuming we don't get Inquired here. Oh, okay. Asmo gets Cookbook, and now my opponent can discard 2 cards in order to kill the Gretchen. Discard Fury, that's good for me. Empty Boy. Are they going to kill Gretchen here? Or not? Looks like they're not. Okay, so play this. I mean, I guess they can still choose to kill the Gretchen if they wanted to. Okay, so they're going to. So probably want to bounce... Probably want to bounce the basic Forest. Play Reclaimer, play Gretchen, say go. And I may want to activate Lore. Okay, they discarded the Hollow one, so that's good for me. And they can discard their entire hand to kill Reclaimer. Well, I'm definitely blocking the Asmo, right? That's a free block. So take 4 down to 13. Alright, what does that do? So I can go get Biomancer's Familiar. I call for Familiar, but then I have nothing else to do. So I think it's better for me to go Flagstones, activate Reclaimer. Flagstones, activate Reclaimer, get Bant Triumph. That's 1 more mana. I can go get either Saga or... I'm probably going to just pass the turn here. And I think I have enough to win next turn. My opponent's going to be able to... It's weird. Wonder why they do that there. Huh, wonder what the timing's about. So we're going to take 7 down to 6. Okay. 7 down to 6. And now we pass the turn. I want to float some mana, activate the Reclaimer, leaving green and white open. And I think I'm more interested in activating Reclaimer plus Call than activating Gretchen here. My opponent can sack both foods to kill Gretchen, but then we just call. So yes, get Headquarters. And I think I'm just getting Saga. And me getting Saga kind of puts my opponent in a spot where if they don't want me to draw a card, they have to activate Gretchen before... They have to kill Gretchen, and in that case, I just call for second Gretchen, and like we're good. The other alternative would be to go get another Flagstones, but I don't think that does too much for me. So I think it's better for me to go get another Amulet, to just get Saga. And that allows me to activate Saga. Bant Triumph is kind of really good in this deck. It's kind of a piece that this deck was really missing. Alright, so there we go. Gretchen down. It's kind of fine. So now they don't have any more interaction, and we're just going to go for Saga. Call for another... Oh, we could call for Titania. Calling for Titania is pretty hot. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Play Flagstones, get Windswept Heath. Yeah, call for Titania seems just better. Titania? Get... I think I get Flagstones. They don't have Bolt as their last card, which is good. Played my land already, so we're just chilling. Okay, so they discard Vengevine. I think I want to do this now. Get 5/3, yes. Temple Garden. And now I can either get a fetch land or I can get a Bojuka Bog. I think I'd rather get a fetch land that's another 5/3. Yeah, that seems better to me. And there's no way for them to prevent the 5/3 from happening. My opponent can discard another card, make another food, and they can kill Titania, but that doesn't really do anything for them, I don't think. Because I just beat them down with Saga tokens at that point. Okay, opponent moves to combat. I imagine they just swing all. I could leave myself dead to Lightning Bolt. Sure. So now they're gonna sack food token to kill Titania. They don't. So block. And if I block here, my opponent can kill Titania by activating Rootwalla. But if they do that, I think I actually want to block here. And then I just kill them with Saga tokens. Yeah, so I leave them with some food tokens. I guess that they can save Asmo this way. But I think I'm okay with that, because at that point, like, the Asmo just is a 3/3 that doesn't do anything. So that seems like a fine exchange to me. Here, I'm just gonna activate here, make a Saga token, and I'm just going to probably just Reclaimer away this Saga to get another Saga. We have infinite land, so I don't have to do this. Definitely getting Surin Orb, so I don't randomly die to some stuff. It's pretty kind of funny that I can just get Familiar here, and now I can activate Reclaimer for a single mana. So that's pretty funny. I don't think I can lose from here. I can go get Bojuka Bog, I can go get another Saga, make more constructs. I can't die because I have Surin Orb. So I think that we have this one locked up. Opponent doesn't have attacks. Make token. Maybe I should be playing around Blood Moon, but at this point I don't think Blood Moon is fast enough anyways. So I'm not particularly concerned. They're just gonna die to construct beatdowns. Okay, I think we're just gonna get another Saga here. Getting Bojuka Bog is sort of interesting, but I don't think it really does anything for me. And I think I'm just gonna sack the Saga to Surin Orb to gain some left. I think I'd rather just make more Reclaimer. Like, make Reclaimer land drops. So maybe I should have... No, I guess getting Flagstones doesn't really make sense if I'm planning to sack this. So, yeah. So we're just gonna do that. Make construct with trigger on the stack. Activate this. Get another Saga. And I imagine that we're gonna have this one locked up now. I think I'm just gonna get another Amulet. Could get Expedition Map, but I don't think Map does anything for me. Make another one of those dudes. Swing. That's 12 damage. I can make it 14. I guess making it 14 does it, so... Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that now. The reason for this is that now the Asmo just doesn't do anything anymore. And I could play the Growth Chamber, but that doesn't do anything, so I'm just gonna pass. Burning Inquiry resolves. Still have the Semi-Growth Chamber here. Yeah, that's very valuable information. Both Alpine Moon and Blood Moon. Both Alpine Moon and Blood Moon. So I think because I see both of them, and I don't see Magus, I think I'm actually interested in having access to Force. Because Force gets rid of the cookbooks, and it also gets rid of the Hollow One. So Forces are finding their way into the deck. I think I'm just gonna cut Familiar. And maybe Gracer sucks? Like, it's definitely worse than Forge Tender. I'm a lot more interested in the second copy of Boseiju. Like, I assumed my opponent was going to be on Magus, but now seeing that they are on actual Blood Moon and Alpine Moon, Boseiju becomes a lot more exciting, obviously. Anything else? Any other changes? I don't think I want Path to Exile. Maybe I want Night of Autumn. Yeah, Night of Autumn seems reasonable. Maybe over the second copy of Finale, however you're supposed to say that. Does this counter Hollow One? That's cute. It's probably terrible, but so I'm not gonna bring it in, but that's kind of cute that this counters Hollow One. I hadn't really thought about it. I'm just gonna submit this. Oh my god, this hand is so close. This hand is so close. I think I'm gonna keep it. I mean, this is why I only want one copy of this card, because like the redundant copies are just so awful. One thing to keep in mind that I just realized is that, oh no, never mind, because I was gonna say like Asmo gets around Forge Tender, but these targets, right? So target creature deals 6 damage to itself, so it can't actually target this. Like, the creature deals damage to itself, but the Asmo cannot target the Forge Tender to begin with, so doesn't actually work. So the best draw, I guess it would be like a basic Plains? Basic Plains would be really hot. Either Basic Plains or... No, Basic Plains would be the best, yeah. Or Fetch Land for Basic Plains or something. I'll take that. So let's go ending there. And I guess I'm actually gonna go Reclaimer instead of Forge Tender. Now that I got rid of the Asmo... Although this can definitely backfire for me. But Reclaimer, like, since I drew specifically Flagstones, Reclaimer allows me to do a bunch of neat stuff. And also if my opponent Blood Moons me, then Reclaimer allows me to actually find my basics so I can continue playing the game, as opposed to just losing. But this is bad against another copy of Asmo, specifically. Yeah, there's the Blood Moon. It's kind of fine, honestly. Like, it's not that big of a deal, because I was able to sneak the Reclaimer into play before. Basic would be sick. Titania is not great, so I'm gonna save these Sagas for Titania. Pass the turn here. I mean, as long as my opponent doesn't have a clock, I think I have a shot. But I kind of need to get this going quickly. Okay, they discard Vengevine, which sucks for me, because, well, Blood Moon's in play. We're gonna go get Plains here, because Plains allows me to Forge Tender. Opponent plays Steam Vents. Only 3 cards left in hand. Cycle Hollow One. That's a good sign for me. Interesting, they didn't play out the Hollow One? Oh, they're going hard on trying to trigger Vengevine, but they could have played the Hollow One. They're like, what's the last card that they wouldn't cast there? Let's go get Basic Plains. Durance would have been a great draw. Any land would have been a great draw. Asses, we're like in a little bit of an awkward spot now. Yeah, that's a problem. So now they're going to get Ox into play, but they're going to have to discard some Vengevines to trigger their Ox. I guess they can discard one more card. Another Cookbook. Discard Redundant Blood Moon. We're going to have one Vengevine still in the graveyard. Draw 3 is very good though. Yep, that triggers Vengevine. That also kills my Reclaimer. So now we're in a lot of trouble. Now we are in a ton of trouble. Yeah, well, we're just a little bit too slow at getting this going, which is pretty rough. I think that we were actually very, very close to pulling this off, even through the turn 3 Blood Moon, and never finding Landlord number 3. Even if I had found Landlord number 3, like, I would have been able to, like, Prismatic Ending the Cookbook, or, you know, just, like, do something. But as is, like, I'm stuck with double Saga in hand, which is not doing anything. Yeah, you are just one turn too late, aren't you? Yeah, our deck just did not function in the face of this Blood Moon, which is brutal because we had access to like any land would have allowed me to prismatic ending, any like force would have allowed me to answer this and these. We actually had a ton of good draws, but we just found none. Trying to think if there's any way, like if I play Forge Tender, the thing is that I'm not playing towards anything, right? Because like I play Forge Tender, sure, I block the Ox, but I take 7. Go down to 5, and then I have nowhere to go from there. Like, I'm just drawing dead at that point because I'm super far away from these Titanias. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. All right, see you next match. Round number 3. This hand looks pretty solid, I think. So we can go... I think we're going to go turn 1 Reclaimer. Hardened scales. So we can go turn 1 Reclaimer, turn 2 Grace Amulet Automaton. That's pretty good. So I can go Amulet into Growth Chamber, into Gracer, put Growth Chamber, have blue floating, and activate Reclaimer that way. So bounce here, play Gracer, play Flagstones, untap, activate Reclaimer, get Headquarters, and now I can either get... I probably can't get another Flagstones, which is unfortunate. Because I can just cast Gretchen here. Or I can go find Saga. So I can go fetch land to cast Gretchen, or I can go find Saga. I think I want to cast Gretchen. Because then what I can do is upkeep, activate, get Saga, and we can go from there. So let's go with... where's my fetch land? Misty Rainforest? I'll just get the Heath. So, get Heath, fetch, get Breeding Pool, tapped, green, blue, go. That was a turn. That was a turn. So now I definitely want to activate on upkeep, and I'm going to crack one of these. Oh. Well, I guess Nexus means that I don't want to block, to chomp the Automaton with Gracer. They find Ballista, that's literally the best thing that they could have found there. Oh, they play second Automaton instead? Interesting. So upkeep, sack, probably Temple Garden, get Saga. Now Saga goes to chapter 2. That's a nice draw. So I can go play this, trigger Saga, activate Gretchen, sorry. Or I can just, I think I'm just gonna go Flagstones minus Teferi minus. Yep. So next turn we have lethal. Well, this is a hand. This was certainly a hand. Opponent taps some mana, cast Throne of Geth. Okay. What are you gonna do with that one, opponent? Ballista for 0, alright. So that dice. That was just to trigger the automatons. So I guess my opponent is just trying to force me to chomp. But they literally don't have enough cards to do that. Like I just block here and take 7. Both of them go in face. No tricks that my opponent can do. They can activate Inkmoth's Sack to Throne, or like, but it just doesn't do anything, right? Like it just doesn't deal enough damage, so I don't care. Yeah. Yep. That's 9 damage. It's not enough. And now we just win. Dope. So get Amulet of Vigor, play Amulet of Vigor, play this. And now we're gonna finally get to do the thing. Tap, 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 bounce, activate. And with each activation, we're netting 2 mana. So now we just go infinite. If eventually find a finale, and once we do, things are gonna get much easier. I love how Suranor with triple amulet equals ramp. That's kind of hilarious. So I'm just gonna repeat these a bunch because my opponent, I imagine they want to see my win condition. So I'm just gonna pause the recording here while I go off, and then you're gonna see a screen of me killing my opponent. So my opponent got tired, and eventually they just conceded before, but I just told them that what the win condition is. All right, so against Scales, I like Knight of Autumn. I like Prismatic Ending. I like Forces. Knight of Autumn, and I think I don't like the fairies. Probably Path to Exile is interesting. Anything else? Not really. Maybe Titania is not great, so I'm gonna cut down to... Maybe we can cut down to 1 and have it as a tutor target, but I think that we're gonna be winning with the combo more often than not in this matchup. All right, yeah, I'll keep this hand. We can go turn 1 Reclaimer. We have interaction so we don't get ran over. We have an Amulet to get our combo going. I don't hate this hand at all. So if my opponent doesn't have an answer to Reclaimer, I think we're gonna be in pretty good shape. What's this Saga? I think I'm gonna fetch for Breeding Pool. I really want to save my life total, but on the other hand, my experience with this deck is that if you don't fetch for your colored sources earlier, you then find yourself in situations where you want a double spell and you just can't. And it makes things really, really awkward. So let's pass here. My opponent on a slower hand, which definitely plays out perfect for me, to be honest. Automaton. Okay. Opponent should have definitely attacked. I would not have blocked in a million years. So there's Headquarters, and I'm probably going to go find another Flagstones. My opponent has not shown me that they have an answer to the Reclaimer. So now we go Saga, play Amulet, and we're going to pass the turn. And we're going to activate Reclaimer, make a 3/4 into call on their end step for Familiar. They did find a Dismember. Okay, so I guess we're just going to have to do this now then. Nature's Claim. That's a little bit awkward, actually. But it's not the end of the world by any means. It's not the end of the world by any means. So we have blue, so I guess we want some more green and white. It makes my mana a little bit awkward because I'm not going to be able to use call effectively there. But like I already have an Amulet on the way. So I'm just going to get another Amulet. And by Amulet, obviously, I mean another Saga. Which is basically an Amulet with delay. Don't really care about that. I'm at infinite life, so draw another Amulet. So I think I'm just gonna make some constructs here. Like my opponent is not really in a position where they can beat all of these constructs anyways. They have a bunch of Ink Moth Nexus, but they don't really add up to too much. And if they ever sack anything to like double up on the clock, we can just path whatever they do. So definitely making the first construct. Do we make the second one or do we want to call? They have another Nature's Claim. Okay. Don't think I care about that. It does make things a little bit awkward. So we call for Familiar. Then we play Amulet next turn. We're gonna play Amulet here. Cast Familiar. Yeah, I guess that it doesn't really do any sense. I'm just gonna establish my defenses, I think. And now we're missing a bounce land. Hey! Hey! Yeah, that one counts. So now we go get Amulet, play second Amulet, play this. Better lucky than good, they say. And yeah, we're just gonna call Familiar, play Familiar, and I think we have exactly enough mana to activate. So 2 to call, 2 to play Familiar, 2 to activate Gretchen, and then we just go infinite, netting 2 mana with each interaction. So when we do find ourselves in a situation like this, the way that we actually pull ahead on mana is by we can just go infinite here as is, like we just can draw our entire deck because we have double Amulet plus Gretchen. So if we didn't have the Familiar, what would happen is we would just like start activating Gretchen, activating Gretchen. Eventually we naturally draw into the Familiar, or we find the Gracer. We find Gracer and an extra Amulet, and that's what actually pulls us ahead on mana. So, but yeah, so as you can see, when your opponent has limited interaction, the matchup gets a lot better. This hand's awful, right? Got the combo though. This hand is so close, but my green source being my bounce land is kind of a beating. Ugh, about to 5 ago. Okay, keep this. Bottom Surinor for sure. I think we're gonna bottom my Lambert's Skull and we're gonna try to play a fair game. Maybe I should have bottomed Titania. I think I'm gonna get Burning Pool here. Yeah, because I have more white sources than blue sources. So if I want to cast this Teferian Curve, it's more likely that I'm able to do so by getting a blue source here. Opponent fetches in response. I imagine it's gonna be like a tapped land or something. I guess they could be playing Murktide. No, they're playing Rugged Triumph. Yeah, okay. So I imagine it's in form of control. But Reclaimer puts a ton of pressure on control, which is good for me. Flagstones. Unlucky. Very unlucky. Alright, pass the turn here. No need to make any decisions just yet. Okay. Opt. So maybe this is the blue-white waffle control deck with Snapcasters and stuff. That's probably what this is. Prismatic Ending, my Reclaimer. I'm definitely activating. The question is, what do we get? Probably just get Semi-Growth Chamber. If we get Growth Chamber, because I'm not hitting my land drop otherwise, I probably have to suck the Breeding Pool here and bounce the Saga, which is obviously very, very awkward. And we probably just lose to March, right? Like if my opponent marches, the Saga in response forces me to bounce the Growth Chamber. We have nothing going on, like we probably lose. But yeah, move to 5 against control. Not where you want to be. Find our Growth Chamber, bounce my Saga. Prismatic Ending resolves. We untap. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to slug through these counter spells, so... Oh no. Opponent plays Mystic Gate, play Saga, play Amulet, see what the opponent does, play this guy, another counter spell. Okay. At least they didn't have Snapcaster, would have been a lot worse for me. Okay, so second Saga is kind of weird, but it's not the worst, honestly. So now what we can do is we can end step call plus make a token. Deluge sucks only slightly. By slightly, obviously, I mean a lot, but Hallowed Fountain, shock. Call. Honestly, kind of impressed that we are sort of in this game. I think I'm gonna get Gretchen. No, I'm gonna get Titania. Not finding a green source is kind of brutal. So I think we're gonna do this. Make construct, and we're sort of playing into a Wrath, but I don't think there's too much that we can do about it. We can go Expedition map, Crack map. We're gonna get another Growth Chamber. Swing for 3. I'm probably gonna play this Reclaimer. Opponent takes 3. Okay. So now we're gonna play Growth Chamber, float mana, play Reclaimer. And I expect that we're gonna get Wrathed, but if they get Wrath, at least maybe I have a window to resolve this Titania. Snapcaster, Deluge. Okay. Opponent really looking for that Wrath. If they don't Wrath me, then I probably just sack the Saga to Reclaimer. So my opponent's basically going all in, right? Like, otherwise, with having Snapcaster in hand, I assume it would have been better for them to just counterspell the Reclaimer or find an answer to the Amulet in Prismatic Ending, like answer the Amulet with Prismatic Ending this turn, because they know that I have the Growth Chamber in hand. So I'm assuming that they're just like digging as hard as they can for specifically that card, for specifically Verdict. We're gonna see what my opponent does, because what they do on this turn is going to affect what I do on my following turn. Tap 2 mana, another Snapcaster. Nope. Do nothing. Okay. If they attack, I'll take 2. Don't care. Okay, we found Temple Garden, which is mildly interesting. I do think I do want to sack this Saga though. And it's either sack the Saga or make a construct. Actually, let's make a construct. Never mind. So Dress Down is a little bit of a beating, but it's fine. So I'm just gonna get second Amulet and I'm gonna play this and shock to not give my opponent the... Otherwise, I do get the triggers and I give my opponent a chance to answer the Reclaimer before that. But we're gonna swing for 10 here. Opponent's probably gonna take 10. Yeah, that's exactly what I would expect it to happen. So this kills the constructs, and it gives my opponent a window to right now answer the Reclaimer. Yeah, I'm just gonna activate in response, because otherwise my opponent can steal the Reclaimer with like Archmage's Charm or something. I think I'm gonna go for Flaxlands. Flaxlands puts a lot of pressure on my opponent. And now I think I did not... No, I did play my land for I played the Temple Garden, never mind. So I was gonna say like I could resolve the Titania, but I already used my land drop. So I think playing around Archmage's Charm there is worth it. Yeah. Or like Fire Ice, like whatever. Like something that can interact with the Reclaimer, basically. The Fairy. Okay. So we're just gonna start jamming some Titanias now. Not too much else we can do, so here's one. They already used 2 counter spells, and I think I'm getting back Saga with this Titania. Could have Snapcaster, Archmage's Charm to counter. Okay. I mean, it's not great, but there's not much I can do about it. 4 cards in hand, which is definitely very scary. Like, we're just really suffering for the Mul to 5 here. If we did have more resources, we'd be in much better shape. So, Prismatic Ending. Can't really counter this. I forgot to plus or minus. They just didn't activate the Fairy at all, which is kind of a wing for me. Alright, counterspell that. So here's another Titania. Please don't have a counterspell for this one. Do ya? That's probably going to be enough to lock it up. What can I draw? If I draw Titania number 3, are we in this game? Oh, Gretchen. If I draw Gretchen, we just go infinite. Oh, never mind. This is lethal, right? 7, 9, 11. Yeah. All right. Never mind. We're actually just dead. Wouldn't have gotten there anyway. Okay, so Fluster is good. Dispute is good. And I definitely like the Fairy. I don't think I care for Prismatic Ending, and this doesn't do anything, I don't think. So Gracer, we can probably shave one. I don't know, maybe Prismatic Ending is okay. What do we want? Cut another Gracer. Let's have the one of ending. Endurance is interesting because my opponent has Snapcaster, and also like a 3/4, an instant speed 3/4 body is a lot more useful than you may think. I'm gonna shave on Amulet because I don't think we're gonna be comboing off with Gretchen too often. Gretchen's still kind of okay as a mana sink. Yeah, I think this is fine. Okay, what do we got here? Pretty solid hand actually. Keep it. Reclaimer. Go. Hopefully Reclaimer doesn't die. Please don't die, Reclaimer. That means Reclaimer. Damn it. Alright. So I guess we're just gonna Gretchen on 2, huh? That seems like the play. Unless I find another Reclaimer. If I find another Reclaimer, we can go Reclaimer into Amulet, which would be really nice. Alright, what do we got? What do we get for the draw step? Another Temple Garden. That's not particularly exciting, but it's fine. So fetch for Brooding Pool. Play Gretchen, say go. If we find another Amulet, we go infinite, which is nice. If we find another Amulet and my opponent doesn't have interaction, I think we just win. Opponent plays Flooded Strand and says go. Interesting. So play this. See if my opponent realizes what's going on here. And they counterspell the Force. They counterspell the Amulet. Yeah, they do realize what's going on. Yep. Okay, so I think because of that, I'm just gonna go Temple Garden tapped. And next turn, we're gonna be able to fetch and we can start activating Gretchen. Drawing cards, hitting land drops. Take it from there. End step. What do you got? Dress down. Yeah, I'm down to activate in response. I am down to activate in response. Boom. Play that one. Dress down resolves. UWr. It's a Time Raveler. So I can just ending here. White, blue, green. And I think I'm just gonna play Reclaimer, so that allows me to hold up Dispute. And actually, Reclaimer is kind of more threatened than Gretchen in this board state. Nope. Actually, the one Upkeep Saga, I don't think I want to Upkeep Saga anyway, so that's fine. Play Gretchen, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think I'm just gonna pass here and start to do Reclaimer things. I could play Gretchen, but then we play into Wrath. Reclaimer allows me to hold up Endurance while also allowing me to make tokens with Saga. Do I want to shuffle my graveyard? I kinda do. Puts back the Dispute in the deck and like some other good stuff. Another one. So we make a token. Probably can't attack here. Maybe I should be attacking. I'll trade. Make a token. Untap. Make another token. I think I want a map so I can go get another Saga here. Swing. Play another Saga. Here we go. I can play another Endurance if I want to, which is nice. Or I can just sit and do nothing, which is also nice. So, I feel like I'm in okay shape here. I don't really want to overextend into a Wrath. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I think I'm going to do it next turn, because I can put more pressure on my opponent. So make a token on their end step. They've been just hitting their land drops and doing nothing else. I'm going to save this because we have Titania. I just pack it in. Alright, yeah, I mean, Saga, when they don't have the dress down, my opponent kind of wasted this dress down. Like, they got no value whatsoever from it. And then they ended up dying to some random construct tokens. Like, Saga, when your opponent doesn't have the answer, is very, very strong. Yeah, that's why I like this deck. Because, you know, your random beater's game plan is somewhat legit. Like, my opponent is forced to answer all of my Reclaimers. They're forced into answering like my Gretchens, otherwise I start drawing cards like crazy. So like, we do put a significant amount of pressure on what they're doing. We do force the action. Besides that, I don't think I really care about any of these other cards, so I think I'm just gonna submit. Maybe I should be playing extra copies of Prismatic Ending, but I don't think so. I don't think I want to be too reactive. Alright, another turn 1 Reclaimer. Yep, I'm gonna keep it. Want to keep 7 as well. Turn 1 Relic. Don't really care about that, do we? I mean, this is kind of like the nice thing about playing, you know, like a sort of obscure deck. It's like your opponent will bring in like Relic Progenitors against you, and you're just gonna shrug and and not care about it whatsoever. Like, they can stop my Reclaimer from being a 3/4, I guess. Don't know how much that actually matters, but I guess that's something they can do. What do we do here? I think I'm gonna go Plains and go. We're gonna try to go for Flagstones, and obviously, like, the thing is that Relic doesn't stop Flagstones and doesn't stop Titania. I guess it stops Titania from getting something back, but I don't think that's super impactful. And here, if we go with Flagstones, my opponent, like, what are they gonna do? Just like not kill this Reclaimer right now? Like, they just have to. Otherwise, we just start pulling so far ahead. Like, they have to kill this Reclaimer however they can right now. Otherwise, I just do nothing and I slowly start pulling ahead just by passing the turn every turn. Do I want to play Boseiju? I kind of want to just play Saga and say go. And I want to play Saga first, see if that trigger resolves, because if my opponent could have March of whatever. Here we play the map, they counter it, don't care too much. They don't counter it, it's also fine, because like, it allows us to get another Saga, so it's just fine. My opponent may be forced into a situation where they just have to use their mana somehow. Dispute my expedition map. I accept the terms and conditions. Want to activate Relic too? I'll take your Relic activation, that's fine. Yep, got me. You have gotten me. So I'm gonna get the Bant Triumph here, and I think I'm just gonna go with Flagstones again. We're just gonna, I mean, if my opponent declines to interact with my Reclaimer, I'm just going to continue getting value from it. Get Triumph. And now, can we get another Flagstones? Get Flagstones. You're gonna let me untap again, opponent? You're gonna let me untap again, alright. I mean, this is okay for me. I don't love playing out the Boseiju, but we can bounce it later if we want to. So it's not really that big of a deal, but just playing any land here allows me to both activate Reclaimer and activate Saga at the same time, which seems extremely valuable. Point activates Relic on my end step. They have not missed a Relic activation so far. It has not mattered, and it won't matter. I don't know, maybe they're scared of Titania? Like, I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do over there. Here's my construct. My construct is amazing. I'm gonna go get another Flagstones here. We're gonna keep riding the Reclaimer value train. Yep. Here's my other Flagstones. Alrighty. Opponent still declines to do anything. I'll take it. The question now is, do I want to make another token? Because what I can do is I can just sack this, but this does play around dress down a little bit better. Yeah, I think so. I think I'm just gonna make a construct, and I think I'm gonna go get Growth Chamber here. So make construct, trigger on the stack, sack Flagstones, say yes, and now we're gonna get Growth Chamber. I'm gonna bounce Saga. Opponent's not gonna know what hit him. I've already used my expedition map, so I think I'm just gonna get an amulet here. Amulet of Vigor. 3, yeah. Play Saga, say go. And I could have actually played Temple Garden there and called on my opponent's end step. I don't think that's gonna matter too much because I have a bunch of mana. I would certainly like for this Reclaimer to not die. My opponent has let the Reclaimer go for so long at this point that I'm starting to actually wonder whether they have an answer or not. They do have a Wrath. Okay, that's fine. So what that means is that now I'm going to be able to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. So I can go 3 mana to Teferi. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I can play Gretchen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Activate, play both my lands. It's kind of neat. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so play this and pass the turn. Nice. That felt really good. That felt very, very good. Opponent Wraths. They let the Gretchen resolve, lose immediately. That was a really good showcase. Like, we won that game with an active Gretchen and 5 cards in hand, one of which was an Urza Saga, the other one was a Teferi. Like, we were really, really well right there. That was a great showing for the deck. All right, see you for the last round. All right, can we live the dream? Can we get that 3 and 2? Opponent reveals Yorion, which is probably bad news, but this hand is too bad to pass, so too good to pass. So 1 does not Burst of Paradise. Okay. 1 does not simply Mulligan Splinter Twin. Am I right? Am I right? So we're gonna go 2-1 Reclaimer here of the breeding pool, and hopefully our Reclaimer doesn't die. If Reclaimer doesn't die, we are gonna have a couple of reasonable turns. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go next turn, play Flagstones, say go. Following turn, sack Flagstones and get another Flagstones. And on the following turn, we can play Reclaimer, or I guess we can activate Reclaimer plus call, and then that Reclaimer is gonna find Saga. Alternatively, we can upkeep Saga so that we can. I guess it depends on what my opponent does here, right? Because they may just kill the Reclaimer. I don't even know what I am talking, but tapped Trial into Renaissance. Okay, that could have been much worse. I'm assuming that we're playing against the Vivian deck, the Vivian combo deck. Find a Saga, which is not the worst. So now I can play Saga on the following turn and get that going. My opponent's probably going to have like maybe a couple of Furies, maybe like a couple of Solitudes in their deck to interact with what I'm doing. And realistically, just only the Solitudes, because Fury only interacts at sorcery speed, and I don't mind too much the sorcery speed. Definitely interested in playing out the Saga next turn. Opponent does nothing. Which honestly, I don't know what's scarier. My opponent doing something or my opponent doing nothing. Definitely get the Bant Triumph here. I think I'm just going to go for another Flagstones. We do have backup Reclaimer just in case. We do want to put Reclaimer. That's Gretchen, which means we don't have to call for her. So we're definitely playing Saga. That's the easy part. Now the question is, what else are we going to do? If we call... We're still missing... I guess I could call for Titania? Is that even good though? We can call for Familiar, but if we call like that doesn't really do anything for me. Courting for Familiar doesn't do too much. I think I'm just gonna go for Titania. Mostly because I don't think that Reclaimer... Like, I can drop the second Reclaimer on my Titania turn because I'm gonna get the free land off of Titania. And Titania allows me to pressure Ren and 6 so much better. But yeah, the redundant call does mean that we get to use the first one for value, which is good. As far as we know, though, we could just die here. If my opponent does have the Vivian combo all rolled up and good to go. We have 2 lands, 2 fetch lands in hand, and they don't do anything. Okay, so at this point, I think I'm getting... Am I getting another Flagstones here? Huh. Or am I getting another Saga? Because if I get Saga, I think I'm just going to get another Saga, because this means that if my opponent, they like try to interact with Titania and stuff, then we just get him good. Solitude to kill Reclaimer. Yeah, this is perfectly fine. Well, even happier now with my play. So here's Titania. So we're going to play Titania and get back Misty, I think. And we're just going to do this right now. Make sure that we get our elemental token, get a forest, play Reclaimer, tapped Hallowed Fountain, say go. And now, next turn we're going to get 2 amulets, and then we can go cast Gretchen and go infinite. So if my opponent taps out, they're dead, and we have double Gretchen too, which is nice. So do we have enough colored mana? That's the only question. We're going to use these 2 colorless to activate Gretchen. So we're going to have green blue that pays for the Gretchen, and then this pays for an activation. This, I think we're 1 off, but then I can, if they don't kill my Reclaimer, I can just go 1 up. I can Reclaimer, sack anything, and go get a bounce land. So, so my opponent's going to need a lot of things. I guess they just need a Solitude, right? This copies any creature, I think. Yeah. This does kill Titania, which is fine. Don't really care about Titania. This is the real price here. But if they do have... They already minus Ren, so I'm just going to block here. And this incentivizes my opponent to Fury right now. Yorion to hand. Okay. So we're going to be able to go infinite here, which is pretty nice. So make some mana. Amulet. Amulet. Never seen this coming, huh? Gretchen. Activate Gretchen. See what's going on here, opponent? Do we see what's going on here? Alright, so now we're good to go. We can go green-white for Familiar. Play Familiar, green, blue. Activate Gretchen. Play this. Mana, bounce, activate Gretchen, play this. Do you see what's going on here, opponent? Alright, I'm going to do the same thing that I did earlier. I'm just going to kill my opponent and stop the recording, kill my opponent, and then we'll be back at it. So see you soon. Alright, so we did win, and now we're going to sideboarding. So I think we want... it's interesting. Like, my opponent is playing... I'm assuming that they're playing the Vivian combo deck, but they're also playing a value style deck. So I think I want Forge Tender to protect against Fury. I also think that Gracer's probably not great. What else? I'm not loving Dispute. Maybe Prismatic Ending. Dispute counters Saheeli. Dispute counters the Fairy Time Raveler, if that's a card that they have. I don't think I love the Fairy too much, though. Lavinia is actually kind of interesting because it stops the it stops the pitch elementals, so I can see it mattering if I cast it early enough. What else? They can't gain infinite life, so there's no real reason to play the Oracle. Should I be bringing Disputes? Like, are Disputes better than the Fairy is the question, basically. Probably not. I feel like I need to see more, because there's multiple ways of constructing my opponent's deck. So I feel like I probably need to see more of how they're constructing their deck before I can make educated decisions about how to sideboard. But I think I'm gonna go with this and see how things go. Opponent on the Multi 6. This hand is missing blue mana, but if I find, yeah, I mean the Grazer already sucks in this hand. I'm just gonna ship it. Much better hand. Keep this one. I think I'm gonna send the Boseiju. Yeah, I think I like this. Opponent ends up moving to 5. Funny how they made me like go through the combo to eat my clock, and I'm still ahead on clock. So, that's pretty funny. Alright, so I think I'm gonna fetch for the basic forest, which makes things a little bit awkward in terms of casting this Teferi, but I think that there's a non-zero chance that my opponent may be playing Magus of the Moon in their deck. And there's just no reason for me to get got by Magus here. Opponent plays Flooded Strand and fetches, and let's see what they got. To be fair, I guess Magus would really suck here, right? It would be very bad for my opponent. But yeah, it's probably fine. What is this? Saheeli. Renegade Rallier. That's hot. That's hot. I'm a simp for some Renegade Rallier nonsense. I am a simp for Renegade Rallier nonsense. I think I'm gonna be sacking. So I think I'm just gonna play the Boseiju and I'm gonna sack it to Reclaimer. This may be bad because if I play fetch land, then I am in a spot where I can actually turn this Reclaimer into a 3/4. So right now I'm just taking damage from Rallier, and I could be blocking it. I don't think I will be blocking it anyways, because my opponent has a bunch of deal 1 point of damage things between Ren and stuff like that. So, alright, so that's gonna need the mana now. I could still bounce Boseiju with Growth Chamber if I wanted to blow that up. I don't think I want to though. I think my opponent has a bunch of mana, but like that's kind of fine. They can't really do too much with it. Am I about to be proved wrong? I may be about to be proved wrong. 4 mana. Failure the Guardian. Okay, they're gonna blink their Rallier for value. That's okay, I think. When it gets back a land, and so I probably have to be careful here. Path would be my best draw. Basic Island. So I lose to Saheeli, and I lose to Vivian. But what I could do here is I could just Teferi bounce Guardian. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Reclaimer remains at 3/4, so my opponent can't really attack. So here's Teferi. I'm gonna bounce Guardian. Although I guess that if this stops me from dying to Vivian, but it doesn't stop me from dying to Saheeli. So if my opponent does have Saheeli, we are dead. I don't think there's too much I can do about it anyway. But it is true that Flagstones would have allowed me to do more stuff. Their own Teferi. It's actually pretty bad for me. Yeah, that's actually a big problem. So now they kill my own Tef. I can go double Reclaimer. They can still deploy their Failure the Guardian here. At least they're not drawing cards, which would be a lot scarier than my opponent getting extra mana. I don't think the extra mana does too much for them. In fact, I would have considered just blinking Teferi just so they can have another draw next turn. I think that would have been much better, actually. Gretchen. So I think I'm going for double Reclaimer here as opposed to playing Gretchen, because this makes it more likely that on my upkeep I can sack Flagstones and get a Saga going. Putting fetches on my end step, not really that big of a deal. But I'm dead to multiple things here. I'm dead to Vivian and I'm dead to Saheeli, right? Alright, opponent's tapping mana. Another Failure the Guardian. Yeah, this is what I was saying. It's just like my opponent could have drawn so many cards off of this Teferi. They missed a land drop. Like they didn't miss a land. They got the extra land, but they would have been able to bounce both of my Elvish Reclaimers and then draw one extra card. I feel like my opponent got a little bit hasty there. I don't think that was a good play that they made last turn. I could still die here. Another Arbor Elf doesn't do it. So at least we get that going for us. And I need to speed things up. So I'm gonna upkeep, sack Flagstones, and we're gonna get a Saga. Headquarters. Find Urza Saga. What this does is this puts another counter on the Saga. So I'm just gonna play the other Reclaimer. Say go. That's kind of the worst land I could have drawn there. Doesn't allow me to cast Gretchen. Doesn't get me closer to, you know, get this Saga nonsense going. Like, it's just a terrible, terrible draw. What is this? Cycle. Interesting. Okay. Alright, opponent pluses the fairy. Am I dead or what, opponent? Am I dead or what? I think I'm gonna put a stop on my draw step, actually, to see what I draw. And then I may activate Reclaimer on my draw step. Again, I'm just trying to speed up the Saga. I don't really care about the constructs. I don't think I'm gonna be able to just tempo my opponent out of the game. So I think I have to combo. Although I guess I have Titania. So I guess it's probably better for me just to go for Titania instead. Okay, Yorion goes to hand, just fine, because it means that my opponent does not have lethal, right? I am into my opponent not having lethal for sure. UWr's probably not doing a lot of work for my opponent. But yeah, nothing we can do here. Should I pivot? Am I supposed to just go... Okay, so technically they can get infinite blinks here, but they don't really do anything. But I'm considering just getting Suranor off of this Urza Saga. Opponent resolves the Yorion trigger. Let's see what they got. They're gonna blink Yorion, and then get back a land, and then what? Blink Rallier again to get another land. Opponent's ramping hard. Blink Yorion again. Now what? This is kind of fun. Okay, so we have I was gonna say we have a non-zero amount of things that just win the game on the spot, but one of them. What to do? So if I activate now, I sack this land. I can then get Saga into play. I think I want to do that. So we're gonna activate these on upkeep, and we're gonna get another Saga into play here. Again, this takes one turn. This means that next turn I'm gonna have the second copy of Amulet. Now I'm gonna go get Amulet. Oops. Float mana. Get Amulet into play. Play my land. Float mana. Play Titania. I think we're gonna get back Flagstones here. And I guess I can play it Gretchen here. I don't see why not. Sack there. Make a 5/3. Flagstones. Temple Garden. Played my land already, so I think I'm gonna go for fetch land. Fetch. And I think I have Hallowed Fountain still in the deck. Yep, sweet. And we're just gonna play the first copy of Gretchen. I'm just trying to go as wide as I can on my opponent here. And next turn we can go infinite. Unless my opponent answers my Amulet. And again, like, this Yorion is not really drawing cards. Like, they're getting back lands and they're like doing their fancy loop thingy, but they're not really doing anything. They're not really like progressing their game plan in a meaningful way, because they can blink the Fairy God all they want, but they can only draw one card a turn off of it. Alright, my opponent plays Oath of Nissa, and that's actually kind of scary, because now their Yorion actually does something. Like, their Yorion actually starts drawing cards. I'm surprised that they... actually... My opponent may lose because they blink the other... what's his name? Like, they blinked the 2 Feather Guardians instead of keeping one in play. And by keeping one, like, that means that now they need to actually find the other Feather Guardian. But now the 2 Guardians are exiled. So even if they do have the Saheeli, they can't combo kill me here. So that's a little bit of a misstep on my opponent's part. And Solitude, like, they do play the Solitude here, which obviously it's pretty good, but like, it doesn't answer the Amulet that I have in play. Saga is gonna find the second copy of Amulet. And they're tapping out. They're just tapping out. Yeah, I guess that they just don't know what I can do. Wow, exposing the other copy of exposing the other copy of Gretchen may actually win me the game, because my opponent is just tapping out for the second Solitude instead of holding the Solitude in hand. I mean, I still have the second copy, so it's possible that it just doesn't matter, but I guess it kind of baited my opponent into a false sense of security. Yeah. So you Yorion. Yorion comes back. Can get all the value you want, opponent, but if you don't have another piece of interaction, then you're just dead. Interesting. And now they're not gonna have to fairy during my turn, and none of the other things. That's very nice. So here's my second amulet. Play Growth Chamber. Maybe they have Ephemerate for the Solitude, but I think I have enough mana to be able to do the thing and not really care. So as of right now, I'm not netting mana. Wow, we just got there. Man, that's sick. All right, wrapping things up. 202 into 3 and 2 is like the best possible case scenario, so you love to see it. It was really nice. Like the last couple of matches, we really got to see the deck at its full potential, right? Like we were playing against interactive decks, but because you're just kind of putting all of these pieces into play, and they don't do anything until you just win out of nowhere. So that was kind of cool. There also the fair plan came into play multiple times throughout the league, which I love to see. Like that is exactly why I like this deck. It's because you want to be playing your Sagas anyway, you want to be playing your Titanias, and like all of a sudden you have this fair plan that your opponent needs to respect and interact with, which doesn't really happen again with other decks like the Tameshi Bloom deck or whatever. Your opponent, they only need to worry about the combo because you don't really have a realistic fair plan. Here we won with the fair plan almost as much as we won with the combo plan, which is kind of nice. So even that last match was a perfect example. Like we did like a couple of things. We're playing our Reclaimers, we're playing our Titania, we're putting so much pressure on my opponent. My opponent is forced to interact, and they use the Fairy Time Raveler, multiple Solitudes, and they use all of those cards to interact with my fair plan, and then out of nowhere, I set up a situation where, the upkeep Sagas ended up mattering a lot. Like the times that I actually found the Saga with the Reclaimer on my upkeep in order to speed up getting an Amulet off of the Saga trigger. It mattered a lot, and I was able to basically engineer a situation where I'm just asking my opponent too many different questions at the same time, and it actually ended up working out great, which is beautiful. Like it's a great thing to see. I think that this deck does have potential. I don't know how much time I'm actually going to be spending working on this, but I think that it would not be completely wasted time. Because again, like the Tameshi Bloom deck is very real, and I think that it has a lot in common with this in terms of being a deck with that has a combo finish, and it has a bunch of moving pieces, but all the moving pieces sort of work within each other. The nice thing about this deck is that the Tameshi Bloom deck really struggles against the Resolve Teferi, because you are a deck that really wants to, like, one of the biggest strengths of the deck is that even though you're just trying to cast Cultivator Colossus and stuff like that, you get there very quickly because you already want to be playing Blooms, right? Like you already want to be playing Lotus Bloom, so it's really easy to ramp. On turn 4, you basically have the kill set up in most scenarios. Here, we don't really have that situation, but at the same time, it's so much harder to hate this deck than it is to hate the Tameshi Bloom deck, right? Like for example, Karn the Great Creator, the Tameshi deck cannot beat in a million years. Here, we literally could not care less. Opposing Teferis, they're a pretty big headache for the Tameshi Bloom decks. Here, we literally just beat a Teferi that bounced 3 of my things and was blinking and staying forever at 4 loyalty. We beat it anyways, like we didn't even care. So it really showcased a lot of the strengths of the deck. I still think that there's a lot of things to be tinkered with, though. Like I don't think that this deck is at a perfect in a perfect spot. I think the mana base is fairly solid. I really wish that we could have access to more semi-growth chambers. Unfortunately, we can only play 4. And just when you play Celestia, Sanctuary, or something like that, it just doesn't do the same because it's not really a bounce land that you can combo with Gretchen with. So it's a little bit... It's definitely... The difference in quality as far as this deck goes is very significant, as opposed to Amulet, with most of the time they're basically interchangeable. But still, I feel like I really wish I had access to at least one, maybe two more bounce lands. The rest of the mana base looks pretty okay to me. I wonder if we could. Boss Sage is just so good though, but I kind of wish that we had room for maybe Otawara, or that we had room for more untapped green and white sources, or I guess blue and white sources. I guess is better. I think that headquarters is really good, but I don't think I would want a second copy. And we were actually hit in this very league. We were actually in a situation where we basically lost the game against the Vengevine deck because I had headquarters and I couldn't play my blocker on turn 1 or my reclaimer. I don't remember what I was trying to do, but it basically time walked me and I just fell too far behind because of that. So I don't think that we ever want a second copy of headquarters. I'd much rather have access to untapped sources like Shocklands. But I feel like at least the mana base is very close. I could see going up maybe one land, but as opposed to a deck like Amulet where you actively want to be playing more lands, like here, the lands that you're playing don't really do anything. And, you know, like there's definitely diminishing returns in playing more lands in a deck like this. But I do like the idea of the deck a fair bit. I do like it a fair bit, and I think it's pretty strong. We don't really feel the need for a Thassa Circle, so I think having this card on the sideboard is fine. I don't think that you necessarily want to be main decking it. But yeah, it's a cool deck, very cool idea, and you can play through a league, so it's a real modern deck, right? Like that's how that works. but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're interested in coaching or you're interested in me playing any deck of your choosing on a YouTube video live on stream, you can find all the information you need in the description of the video down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.